Yeah. Uh, Hi there. This is KP4MD. Do we have anybody who can help out with net control today?
This is K6KRQ. Without sounding like I'm usurping everything, I'll gladly do it.
Yes, yes, please do so. We're ready. We're already live on YouTube as KP4MD.
I see that. Stand by. I'll give a QST. The River City Arcs Slow Scan TV Net is about to start in about right now, as soon as I get the script out. Hold on. Alrighty then. Good evening. This is Bill, K6KRQ, your net control operator for the River City Arcs Slow Scan TV Net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. River City Arcs members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact the net control by saying break, break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I will recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
November 6 Yankee Golf, George in Lincoln.
Hi, George. I'm glad you're with us, and I would not like seeing you on last night's presentation that Bill gave.
Good to see you as well. N6YG.
Anybody else?
November 6, Papa Golf, Quebec.
All right, Bob. Welcome. Glad to have you as always. Anybody else?
Hi, Bill. Stuart, November 6, Delta Victor Mike.
Hello, Stuart. Good to have you. I knew you'd be here. I'm on a roll. Anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. Alpha India 6, Delta Golf.
Hey, Joel, we missed you. Good to have you.
Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta Carol.
Okay, Carol, of course I have you. Always glad to have you also. Anybody else? Okay, I'll call later, see if anybody joins us late. Got a pretty decent crew on YouTube. I see Alan, K6 AWG is with us from Imperial. Good to have you, Alan, if you can hear me through this. I don't know how that works. I've never listened to the feed on YouTube. Before I start, Carol, by the way, I watched that thing about slow scan TV that you sent that the ARRL had. That was pretty good. I really struggled with putting lettering and templates on my pictures, and that helped me a little bit with that, so thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's good for me too because I haven't done templates in years, so it's good to learn again how to do that.
Yeah, it's still not intuitive, but I'm better than I am. Now at least I can do the blah, blah, blah day, K6KRQ real quick, following the person before me. So Anyway, so this is the way it's going to go. We're going to go George, Bob, Stuart, Joel, Carol, and then me finally. So let's check and see if George is ready to go. How about it, George?
Yeah, I've got one to send out. And let's see. Oops. Turn on templates. Almost forgot to do that.
This ought to be a good one. I don't have a clue, but we're going to see what Bob, N6PGQ, has to say. Go ahead, Bob.
Wow, I don't have a clue either. First, I'll comment on the pictures. Very, very few pixel pops. Only a couple down in the left side bottom and the very bottom right. I don't know. It looks like some kind of a stone, and it's in a fixture. And I don't know whether it's to, grind grain or what it is. So it's going to be real interesting to find out. It's something new to me. N6PGQ.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, this one's definitely an eyeball bender. Let's go see what Stuart, N6DVM, has to say.
All right, I don't have a clue either. My first thought was, yeah, it's certainly a stone. I thought about pottery. But then I saw the thing around it and thought that something slips in between those two, either a locking mechanism or a rope or wire or something like that. I thought it might be used for, I don't know, baking. I don't know. I have no idea. It's a great picture, and again, I'm fascinated to know what it is. N6DVM.
Thanks, Stuart. Before I submit my unconditional surrender, I'm going to ask Joel or Carol if they've got an idea.
Not enough context. I mean, I can't even tell if that's a piece of metal or stone or porcelain or even a piece of burnt bread.
Yeah, no idea from me.
Like they're going to win the no prize for stumping everybody. Go ahead and tell us about this one.
I think someone might have just been doubling with you.
Was Carol KP4MD? Were you trying to get through?
Yeah, sorry, just said that I have no idea either. Go ahead.
Okay, then it is unconditional surrender. So you're going to win the prize for the stumping us tonight, George. Go ahead and tell us what this one's all about.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that nobody recognizes this picture. You would have either had to study nuclear physics or had a high-level security clearance at Hanford to ever see this. This is a small cake of weapons-grade plutonium-239 at Hanford, circa 1974 or so. And this, of course, isn't the form that they would have shipped off for nuclear weapons. This is actually what they sent off to uranium fuel processing plants, similar to like the Kerr-McGee Cimarron facility, who was manufacturing MOX fuel, or mixed oxide fuel, which contains about 12 to 13% plutonium Pu-239. And so that's what you're looking at there. That one of the most cancerous compounds known to man. Interesting enough, about just before Karen Silkwood was killed, about 40 kilograms of this material right here, Pu-239, went missing from that particular facility called Cimarron. And nobody's sure whatever happened to it, but to put in perspective how much that is, that's enough to create about 8 Hiroshima-sized nuclear bombs, or roughly enough to give cancer to about 8 billion people, assuming that it's pulverized into a fine powder and distributed into the air. So this is compressed. It's a powder, and it's compressed into a cake for transport. And when they transport this, they're very limited in how many they can transport at one time and how close in proximity they can be to each other to avoid reaching a critical mass. So anyways, thought that would be interesting to share with the group. N6YG.
Question.
Go for it, Stuart.
Do you know the approximate weight and size of this? This has a half-life of about 25,000 years. I'm just curious how big this is. N6TVN.
You know what's interesting is that there's a lot of math and science that went into determining how big they can make these and still be safe with them. And I believe that this is just about the size of a half dollar. I don't know how thick it is.
This is Bill, K6KRQ. You know what, George? All kidding aside, that gets my nomination for at least one of the most interesting photos I've seen on this net. That's unreal. I can't let it go just without making certain anybody else doesn't have a comment on it. Anybody?
Yes, KP4MD with a comment.
Great, go ahead.
Yeah, this is quite a coincidence, but I received a call from my alma mater, Fordham University, just earlier this week. They were touching base with their alumni since it's been 50 years since my class graduated. And they asked me if I can remember. They asked me if there was anything memorable from my time over there, and I said, yeah. I had a chemistry professor named Dr. Michael Cefola. That's spelled C-E-F-O-L-A, Cefola. And I didn't know about it at the time when he was my professor, but he was one of the first 3 people to isolate the first visible amount of pure plutonium. He was involved in the Manhattan Project. And if you so they were actually part of the team that developed the first atomic bomb, and he was born in he was born in Italy, but he was working in the United States at the time, back in the 1940s. So if you Google him, his name, it'll come up. Name is Michael Cefola, Cefola, and it's quite a historical thing. And of course he didn't mention a single thing about that back when I was a student, because I'm sure it was still very hush hush. We were in the middle of the Cold War, and that was quite an honor to actually. He was actually a ham operator at the time too. Trying to remember what his call sign was, but he was a technician, and he was involved with the amateur radio club over at the school at the time. So there you go, plutonium. So back to net controls. Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta.
Thank you, Carol. Man, this keeps getting better and better. What a conversation piece. You know what? From YouTube, I'd like to welcome Cameron Simpson, KK6WIP. Craig, he's been with us before. He had a comment on plutonium and its half-life. And then we see Stuart on here, too. So, very good. Any other comments before I go on? Alrighty then, next up will be Bob in Northmost Roseville, N6PGQ. What do you have for us tonight, Bob?
Well, this one may just be a bomb. I don't think I have anything to compare with a piece of plutonium. But anyway, this is PD-120, N6PGQ.
Uh-oh, your picture aborted. N6PGQ. that time. This is Bill, K6KRQ. Hey, before I go on, is there anybody else that wants to check into the net? Okay, as I said, this is Bill, K6KRQ. I don't know, this might rival the plutonium, but we're going to go to Joel, AI6DG, for first comment on this one. Go ahead, Joel.
Well, that was interesting. We got half a picture and then like a 16th of a picture a little bit after that, and then it restarted over again, and now we've got the full picture again. Lots of pops. So PayPause is acting up tonight. We're looking across a row of parking spaces with no cars in them that has a little grass strip and a small post and wire fence, and behind that we've got a full semi, all in bright red, on the side of the cab that we can just see a part of. I see a picture of a map of Idaho, and behind that a flatbed. Front part of the flatbed, and everything's red. The cab's in red, and the background on this box on the front part of the flatbed is red, and some logo but the text on it says, "Is it real?" And behind that, in the lowered flat part, we've got this monster huge, what looks like a potato, that's like monster car sized. I mean, it's huge. It takes up the entire flatbed, so it's probably 20 feet long and almost 10 feet tall. And this is a heavy duty flatbed with lots of axles, so it's heavy. So if it's real heavy. But the question is it real? Can a potato get that big? Back to net, AI6DG.
Thank you, Joel. Hey, when on the first transmission, I didn't see that many pixel pops, but like then when it finally came through, it's a swarm of them, maybe the most I've seen. But anyway, I'm going to go to Carol, KP4MD, for her commentary on this.
Okay, it's KP4MD. Yeah, I see a bunch of pixel pops on this picture here. And is it real? It certainly looks like a potato, and I'm guessing it is supposed to be a potato, but I am thinking that this is photoshopped, because I don't think a real potato could actually exist at that size and still be functional. So the other thing I was thinking was maybe a mutant, from exposure to plutonium. Who knows? Back to nets, KP4MD.
Thank you, Carol. I didn't think about photoshopping, but I'm gonna say it's real. Anybody got any more comments before I go to Bob for the lowdown on this giant spud?
I do.
Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I have to question whether it's real or not. That's at least 30 feet long and 8 feet tall, maybe. Yeah, that. How would they have gotten that onto that trailer? Potatoes aren't that hard. I mean, they'd have to sling that thing real carefully up there. What? Yeah, that's a potato head, right? All right, back to net, N6YG.
Beautiful colors, really bright red, really bright blue sky.
Well, we definitely have another conversation starter. Let's go to Bob for the 411 on this. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, hopefully I have the right antenna hooked up to the right part of the radio. I've been doing some changing. Is the audio here good?
Yeah, you're Q5. Your audio's great.
Okay, well, I don't know if you guys have been watching the television ads, but for quite a while, the Idaho potato growers had a farmer hunting for his potato and chasing this big truck all over the country trying to get it back because someone stole his large potato. And this is a real 18-wheeler. It's parked in the lot next to the California Auto Museum because it went down to Old Sacramento and Sacramento area for the Mardi Gras parade. And so since everybody's hunting for this famous Idaho potato, as it says underneath the potato, the famous Idaho Potato Tour, I found it. And so I decided to take a picture of the famous Idaho potato, and it is life-size.
So, is it real?
Well, you're seeing a picture of it, but alas, it is fiberglass.
Okay, it's real fiberglass. All right, very good. Nonetheless, an interesting picture. Very good. Thanks for that, Bob. Next, let's go to Stuart. Boy, these things, these acts get harder and harder to follow. Let's go to Stuart, N6DVM, and see what Stuart has for us. Are you ready, Stuart?
I'm ready. I'm indecisive tonight. I, last minute, pulled together a bunch of images and wasn't sure what to share, but here's what I'm going to share. This is PD-120.
All right, Stuart, thank you. Some odd sounds at the end of that transmission, but we'll hear what the subject matter experts say. So that's going to bring us all the way to the top to N6YG, George in Lincoln. Tell us what you think, George.
Yeah, that looks like equine. Looks like a horse getting ready to either. I'm thinking that's a CAT scan machine. It'd be a little small for an MRI. So I was just looking around to see if there was any metal on anybody or in the room. So yeah, I think that's a CAT scan machine. I could be wrong. And maybe a racehorse, right? That's they'd spend that kind of money on a good racehorse. So yeah, back to net N6YG.
Thank you, George. I was thinking thoroughbred for a second there myself. Bob, N6PGQ, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I was going to make some kind of wise crack about it not being a CAT scan, but being a horse scan. We've got ID across the top third and a few pixel pops here and there, actually quite a few of them. We aren't quiet tonight. Yeah, looks like a horse scan, N6PGQ.
All right, thank you, Bob. Before I go to Stuart, I'm just kind of wondering why the horse is like two-tone with like the delineated colors on them. But we'll let Stuart tell us about that. Go ahead, Stuart. Tell us about your photo.
All right, you guys are good. This is not a mysterious image. Yes, this is a horse getting a CT scan. And I realize it's maybe mildly interesting to most of you. What's unique about this is that CT is done routinely on horses. This is a thoroughbred, often done on the feet, legs, hooves rather, for race horses, looking at bones and other structures for performance issues. And horses also, because they perform, they are on the racetrack, respiratory disease and disease of the neck and head are important as well. And typically we have to anesthetize them, and we use huge, large hydraulic tables to get them from upright to in lateral recumbency and into a machine or for surgery or whatever. What's unique about this is a standing CT. It's relatively new. It's an entire platform and apparatus to have the horse awake and stand to receive a CT, in this case of a head and neck. You can see the horse is recessed. The machine is on a riser and on rails, and it can position the horse. It also uses what's called a fan beam CT, a little bit different than other older machines, and it's just a new way to acquire CT images on equines. N6 DVM.
Question.
Go ahead, George.
I'm curious, do they use contrast on horses as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Ever heard of a reaction?
I don't work with horses, or have not worked with horses. The adverse effects from the different kinds of contrasts in animals are the same as in humans. Commonly, injury to kidneys or renal injury from clearance by the kidney, seizures, things like that. So they're fairly similar to humans.
All right, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Stuart. That's intriguing. I know thoroughbreds are a big investment, so I can see them spending for all this technology for them. So it's understandable. Very interesting. Next, this is Bill, K6KRQ. Our next exhibitor is going to be AI6DG. That's Joel. Are you ready for us, Joel?
What is their tone?
Good tone.
PD 120.
right, neat, Joel. That one's like relatively pixel pop free, to me anyway. So first comment here is going to go to Carol, KP4MD, in Citrus Heights. Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, thank you very much. This is KP4MD, and yes, I recognize the Hard Rock 50 amplifier that Joel built over there in that Go box, and the QRP radio looks like that Lab. I think it's called Lab 599. It's the one that's the Russian QRP radio that's on the table. And let's see, there's a flat monitor, a flat screen monitor that's showing WSJTX. I think it's running FT8. And yep, I can see the waterfall screen as well. And let's see, you've got a keyboard in the foreground and also the ARRL band plan. And it looks like a soda. Well, there's a water bottle, and there's also a one of those McDonald's sodas that's probably a Coca-Cola or something, and a cell phone. And in the background is something that's propped up on the grass there. It might be a solar panel. I'm guessing that this was from your latest activity in Jan Park, where you did a off-grid activity there. So back to Net Control. It's KP4MD.
Thank you, Carol. I kind of mixed up my order here. I'm gonna go to Stuart, N6DVM, this time for a second comment. Go ahead, Stuart.
Well, I'm incredibly grateful that Carol went first. I'm a new ham, so I guess what the goal here is to see how much I can recognize. I did recognize the WSJTX screen. I presume that's what it is, as Carol said. I don't know what the radio is, but I would assume also it's a QRP radio given its size. I do recognize the band plan. And as a new ham, it's really important I recognize the water bottle and the mouse and keyboard as well. Nice picture, and I'd love to hear more about it. N6DVM.
You did just fine, Stuart. Before I go to Joel, I thought that the radio on the tabletop was one of those Elecraft models. You'll have to tell us about that, although you probably have before. But I like those. I think I want one of those things just because they look neat. But anyway, let's see what Joel has to say. Let's have Joel explain his rig to us. Go ahead, Joel.
I don't know if it's Russian or Ukrainian, but whatever it is, they got out of that country, and I think they're actually made in United Arab Emirates now. But I'm very happy with it. It's not as good as the KX2, but well, it's pros and cons. The KX2 is probably the better radio, but the TX500 is much better weatherproofed, waterproofed. Would be perfect would be to put the innards of a KX2 into the case of the TX500. And yes, that solar panel's propped up in the background on the upper right. Not that there was much sun that day. Well, the sun came out for a little while, but most of the day it was pretty overcast. I wasn't getting a heck of a lot of power out of that. And there's also a little USB sound card in the rat's nest of cables on the left. Just below that small box, that's actually a little mini PC that was running everything. All of this fits into that case quite well, and it's very well padded. Everything's got probably an inch of padding around it, so I wouldn't mind it all. And I've actually traveled with that case, although in a suitcase. I took it down to the Eclipse in Texas, and that's one of the purposes of trips like this, to find out new things and figure out what you got to change. And in this particular case, I wasn't on flat ground, and I discovered I need to put some rubber on the bottom of that case because I put it down. The first thing it wanted to do was slide off the table, and I also need to put some lid straps because I'm afraid every time I open that thing that it's going to break off and fall off and back. So I need to put a strap to keep it from opening too far and falling back. But good, very good day. No rain, no wind. Had fun. Good turnout of people. Lots of people trying things. Back to Net AI6TG.
Thank you, Joel. That's neat, the compactness of it, and yeah, like the simple logistic things you learn by just going out and doing, which I need to do myself. This is Bill, K6KRQ. We still got like a little bit of time left. Let's look to see what Carol, KP4MD, has. It is her turn to share a picture with us. Are you ready, Carol?
Yes, I'm ready, and I actually do have another comment about that radio. The Lab 599 was originally made and sold from Russia, but they had to they moved to the UAE to get around the sanctions after we imposed sanctions on Russia. But I don't think that's neither here nor there anymore, because apparently, officially, we are now allies with Russia, North Korea, and those places. So I don't know what's going to happen with those sanctions, but that's a story about that particular company. But I've heard it's a really nice radio, and they actually have one on display over there at HRO. So, okay, here's my picture, and this is going to be PD120. Here it comes.
Right, it's finishing up on YouTube. I'm going to go to Bob, N6PGQ, in the rotation for first comment on this one. This is interesting. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, it is interesting. Few pixel pops again. We're having those this evening. Boy, I don't know. This looks like the Earth sitting there and some rings of radiation, because we've got energy coming in, waves at the top left, and I don't know, magnetic flow or something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what this is, because I can't read the labels on this at my computer. So anyway, be interesting to hear what it is. N6PGQ.
Yeah, I would. This is Bill, K6KRQ. I'd be able to comment more if I could see the letters better. Let's see if George has a ID on it. N6YG. Go ahead, George.
Oh, I know what this is. Not fair to send it to me. I think I sent this picture out a couple months back.
Okay. Let's. I don't know. Let's give Joel a try at it.
I don't think I've seen this before. It's got lots of arrows and sweeping things and things going in and out and up and down and all around. Seems to be talking about ocean currents and almost looks like Van Allen belt stuff. My guess is that this is an energy diagram of what's coming in and what's going out and how it's moving around the planet. Energy or heat or yeah, so you can't really read the writings. We can't really even see what the labels are for what all these arrows are. I remember way back in high school, though, having one day having a talk about the sun shines in and the energy comes in and then it gets reflected out at night. And obviously nowadays we have things about ocean currents and wind currents, but there's a lot of energy floating around the planet and given current political environment. There's a lot of thing about is it getting warmer or not? Anyway, back to net N6DG.
Thank you, Joel. It definitely has a lot of information on it. Carol, please tell us about this picture.
Okay, this is KP for MD. Yes, Stuart got the heads up because he checked his email. I actually just sent out an email with the actual nice clear picture of this. It is a slide from a presentation that our Whisper study group gave at a PacificCon convention back in 2013. It's a diagram of it's an ionosphere model envisioning many different aspects of what's going on in the ionosphere. A lot of current radio amateurs and atmospheric scientists are collaborating and sharing findings of observations of propagation in the hamsci.org group. That's Ham Radio Science Citizen Investigation. So Whisper, which is Weak Signal Propagation Reporter Network, is one tool that HamSci uses to identify and study observations in ionospheric propagation. So this is there's no way that I'm understanding every single aspect that's put here, but this is a composite picture showing many of the different influences that affect the ionosphere and propagation. Of course, I didn't expect you to be able to read it from SlowScan TV, but I did send out an email to everybody on this chat, and also there's a link now in chat that will bring you right to the slideshow, so you could actually see it directly and nice and clear. So it looks like a little psychedelic thing, you know. The orange ball that's over in the upper left-hand corner, that's supposed to be the sun, and the radiation coming from the sun is having all of these effects on the ionosphere of the Earth. So back to net control. It's KP for MD.
Thanks, Carol, and thanks for sending that. It's interesting, and I'm going to check it out. Any other comments on this?
Comment.
Go ahead, Stuart.
I just want to express how impressed I am with this. It's an amazing illustration. I want to know how it was created. I'm looking up some of the terms right now. I think they're all easily Googleable as well. But it's a fascinating image. As Carol says, a constellation of research into one image, and it's just fantastic. There is one typo, I believe, but I won't mention it. I'll mention it in the chat. But thanks for sharing this. It's really good. Thanks. N6DVM.
All right, thanks for that, Stuart. All right, I will take a turn now. This is Bill, K6KRQ. You know, giant spuds and plutonium and massive CT scans are tough acts to follow, but I think Stuart might like this one. Here we go, PD 120. I dodged the Morse code. All right, there it is. You know what? I'm going to give Stuart N6DVM first crack at this one. Go ahead, Stuart.
Yeah, sure. Make me guess this one. Nice image. I like it. It's so this is some kind of wild ungulate. I'm trying to figure out what it is. A deer, or maybe a neonatal moose. I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure why I can't tell. Looking at the ears and the fur. It's got a covering on its over its eyes to keep it calm. It looks like this could be a rescue of some kind, or doing some kind of mitigation, health reasons. I'm not sure. I thought there might be a tag on it, but that's the black object below her left hand. I'm not sure what that is. But this, I'm going to guess this is some kind of rescue, calming this animal down, and I don't know whether she's wearing a surgical mask because this is during the pandemic, or there's a concern about some zoonotic disease, but that's the best I can do. N6DVM.
Not bad. Let's go to the top to George, N6YG.
Yeah, there's not much I can add to that. He pretty much covered what I was going to say. It looks like a deer to me, and the picture came over really good. It's one of the better pictures tonight. Although I got a few pixel pops, the signal was strong. It's nice and straight. It looks good. Although off to the side, I see where you have the KP4MD. This is K6KRQ, and so you've added the overlay. But it looks like there's a little bit of overlay on the on the far right-hand side, right in the middle. I can't tell if that's something on the ground. It looks like the beginning of an N or an M or something like that. So with that, back to Ned, N6YG.
Thanks, George. Any other comments? You're right. I did notice that artifact. That was me trying to make the templates. Like I say, I kind of struggled with it. Any other comments? All right. I guess you guys were kind of close. This was a few years ago. That's my daughter. She works for Department of Fish and Wildlife. She's a lab assistant, and they were tagging mule deer on the lower slope of the east side of the Sierra down around Lone Pine. And what they would do was they, with helicopters, go up into the further into the bush and dart the mule deer and bring them back to tag them. They'd bring them back on a sling. I have a video of it somewhere. They'd leave them there, or not leave them, they put them there, and then they would tag them there where you see my daughter at, and then they would take them back up into the hills. So that was like one of the field exercises she went on. So that's the story on that one. And the mask, it was around the time when COVID was going on, but I don't know if it's because of COVID or because of some, thing being out in the wild. So that's a good question, Stuart. So that's all I got for that one.
Comment?
Go ahead.
I'm going to guess that she's wearing gloves because we normally wear gloves, and the mask is because of COVID. I was going to be a zoo veterinarian, and we used to practice tranquilizing large animals. I've tranquilized large cats, cougars. We used to practice by shooting hay bales. We used a rifle designed for tranquilization in Africa called the Zimbabwe rifle, and we would use also homemade darts using PVC pipe and modified syringes containing butane with negative pressure, so that when the dart was blown into the animal, it would release a plunger that would expose an air slot that would release the propellant and then inject the anesthetic into the animal. But there's a whole art and science to wild capture and tranquilization. N6DVM.
Comment.
Go ahead, George.
We got a moment for a quick story. I'll make it brief, but you reminded me of something when you talked about tranquilizer guns.
I got time. Go ahead, certainly.
Okay, as most of you know, years ago, I worked for the circus. I was a road manager. I traveled about 6 months ahead of the circus, and I was the guy who showed up and I did all the preliminaries. I would rent the show site, get the insurance, secure all the permits with the fire department and the city and the counties and everything. Just a nightmare. I was a business manager. And one day the owner was very eccentric, and one day the owner calls me up and he says, I want to shoot some new pictures for the program guide and for the advertisements. I want you to come down here and do this for me. Because I was, I graduated from Brooks Institute of Photography, so I said, all right. So he flew me back, and this was in Pennsylvania, and that's when they informed me over dinner in front of his entire entourage, a bunch of friends and everybody there, that I'm going to have to go into the tiger cage because he wants pictures of the tigers. I have that picture, by the way. Maybe I'll share it. That I'm going to have to go into the tiger cage, and they had 5 albino Bengal tigers. And so they spent the next week psyching me out. And they're telling me that they're going to have guys with tranquilizer guns around to ensure my safety just in case. And they were telling me how to act around the cats so I wouldn't scare them or whatever. And by the time it came around, of course, I'm in my early 20s, and there's lots of girls involved. And all along, I'm trying to figure out how the heck I'm going to get myself out of this mess. I do not want to go in that tiger cage. And that was the whole plan. These guys were all taking bets on whether or not I would actually do it. And I did. I went in and I took the pictures, and they had the whole production. They had 5 guys out there with rifles, supposedly with tranquilizers in them. And I was scared out of my mind. But in the end, I found out that they were like fifth-generation cats, and I got to hold one, and he was purring, and I got to pet him, and it was like, you know, they just were all having fun with me.
Well, I'm going to say that's a must-see picture, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. So that's pretty funny. That's a good story there about the circus.
I remembered it because my wife and son, they got together and they made a photo album. They had found a bunch of my old pictures from that era, and they had made a photo album for me and given it to me, and that picture was in there. So I'll have to either it's not digital, it's black and white. I actually processed it myself. So I'll have to either scan it or take a picture of it.
All right, looking forward to it. So are there any other comments or questions? Oh, by the way, I don't know what they use to tranquilize the deer, but I'd like to see. I don't know what it is they use, but I'd like to see what these guys use. Anyway, any other comments or questions, or maybe even a final quick picture?
Comment?
Go ahead, Stuart.
So I don't know what they used here either, but this mule deer is definitely tranquilized, obviously, probably under conscious sedation. I'm sure it's awake, but not under full anesthesia, of course. Common drugs would be ketamine, along with the benzodiazepine, like ketamine and diazepam or Valium, or xylazine, which has become a popular street drug now. Xylazine can be reversed, so it's popular. It's used in livestock, and it's a drug that can cause pretty effective anesthesia in healthy animals, and then it can be reversed. So you can drop them, do what you need to do, tag them, and then give them the reversal drug, yohimbine, and wake them up. And there are other drugs as well. N6DVM.
Now I got another comment. N6YG.
Keep it going.
Having owned horses over the years and dealing with veterinarians, of course, we've had to have them put down in the past, and that's actually very, very scary. When you think about the drugs that they're using to euthanize a large animal like that, and it's in a needle and syringe, and the vet's handling it around an animal that can be unpredictable, it can be actually kind of dangerous. And so I wanted to throw that out there and see if DVM had a comment.
Yeah, it's dangerous to the horse and dangerous to everyone around it. The procedure, I guess, for euthanasia will be a little bit different than anesthesia. With of course, euthanasia, you don't want them to fall on you. We often use ropes and harnesses and things to try to direct their fall for euthanasia. Obviously, for anesthesia, you have to recover them, and then the anesthetic induction period and maintenance of anesthesia is different, of course, than recovery. And recovery is very dangerous. Horses that are recovering from anesthesia will wake up and they can have a delirium, of course, from the drugs they're given, like ketamine, an emergence delirium, and thrash around, and they can injure themselves, break a leg, and end their career, so to speak. And so those horses are recovered in these large padded rooms and with great care. So it's dangerous to everyone involved, including the horse. N6DVM.
Thanks for that, Stuart. I certainly didn't know that, and most of the public doesn't either. So I appreciate this conversation. Any other comments before I wrap it up? All right, we ought to call this the River City Arts SSTV and Intellectual Net. Man, we had some good conversation tonight. So anyway, I want to thank all who participated in tonight's SSTV Net. I really appreciate it. We hope to see you again, and that's including our viewers on YouTube, too. We like having you. We appreciate it. We hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. for some more SSTV and intellectual discussion. This net is officially closed at 10:08 p.m. This is Bill, K6KRQ, wishing all of you a good evening, 73, and thank you again.
Bill, I'm going to send a closing picture.
Oh, by all means. First off, man, that came through really good here. That was one of the best transmissions of the night. And secondly, that's the capstone to the intellectual part of our net for sure. Thanks, everybody. K6KRQ.